Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for June 9th, 2025. Here we have a Senate hearing. This is titled, Richard's President Donald Trump Reacts to Moment When Republican Senator John Kennedy is Flabbergasted by Secretary of Commerce Lutnick's reciprocity reply on tariffs. So what happened here is that during a Senate hearing, Senator John Kennedy was questioning here Secretary of Commerce. Here he is. There's John Secretary. There's Senator John Kennedy, Republican Senator John Kennedy, and here he is. This interchange between him and the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. There's Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce. There he is, responding to a question from Republican Senator John Kennedy. Here we go. Let's zoom in close. There he is, Senator John Kennedy, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. Okay, there it is. And he was questioning him about tariffs, the policy, trying to establish some kind of a policy that President Trump has on tariffs. So it's been unclear what that policy is because there's been a lot of uncertainty. They go up, they go down. They went from 145% on China, and it went down to I think 30% or something like that, and then things go up and down like a yo-yo kind of like. So here's the title of the cartoon. I'm going to read it to you specifically. Richard's President Donald Trump reacts to moment when Republican Senator John Kennedy is flabbergasted by Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick's reciprocity reply on tariffs. So what happened here was that Senator Kennedy basically cornered Lutnick on the strategy here, because he presented him a hypothetical situation. Suppose a country made you an offer, 0 tariffs and 0 barriers to trade. Would you accept that? And Lutnick said, absolutely not. We have to be crazy to accept that. And that's a perfect deal. 0, no barriers, nothing. You couldn't accept that. No way. So that was the groundwork for what I'm going to show you here. That was the exchange, and here it goes. Okay, here goes Senator Kennedy. You said if a country came to you and offered the ultimate reciprocity of no tariffs and no trade barriers in return for us doing the same thing, no tariffs, no barriers, would you reject that? If you are telling the president reciprocity is not a goal, why are you trying to do trade deals? So he's saying basically that if you can't accept 0, where there's with complete no tariffs at all, no restrictions, what's the point of negotiating trade deals? If that is the fact that you're looking for something else other than that, so what's the point of going back and forth on percentages, 60%, 20%? What's the point of that? That's what Secretary of Kennedy was basically saying, because if there's no reciprocity, what is there? So then what happens here is Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, here's his reply. Here he is. There he goes. There he is. And he replies, we are absolutely seeking reciprocity. he hammers that in. We seeking with respect to things that can be reciprocal. There are he's seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal. I mean, what can be reciprocal? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's it sounds like a marriage counselor. Or people go to a marriage counselor. We're seeking reciprocity, but we have to find ways of being reciprocal. A marriage counselor, that type of thing. There are certain products we want made here if we can do it. If we can do it. So if we can make the products here, we want it here, made here. So there's very little negotiation we're going to do on that. You're going to have to stop sending those products here if you want to go to 0-0. So that's what he's saying. Like 0-0 is only step one. Step two is if you're making a product and exporting it into the United States, and we want to make that product, even 0-0 ain't going to do no good. Ain't going to help you out because we don't want your products competing with our products. That's what he's saying here, basically. So you're saying here that the United States is going to dictate to another country what products they can make. Not only do they want to dictate here, they want to dictate to other countries. It sounds like that. I'm not saying they do, but that's the way it sounds like. How can you tell another country what to produce or what to export? To the United States. It just goes against like my feeling is a free market. If you're not only putting up, it's a product barrier. So that's my opinion. That's all. I'm just giving my opinion, giving you that. Okay. Now here. So this is what happened here. We're absolutely with seeking reciprocity. We are seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal. Okay, there it was. In other words, we'll give you a deal if you don't compete with any of our products. 0-0 will be fine, and that's it. There are other things, but I try to fine tune it to the specific here. Okay, and here goes President Trump. Now he's watching there. He just watched this, and he's responding to that. And he's got this horseshoe in his hand, and here's how it's going to go with President Trump. Mr. Lutnick gets it. The products we are seeking reciprocity on are things we do not want to make here, like horseshoes imported from India, Vietnam, and Mexico. So there you have it. There it is. There's President Trump. There's the horseshoe. You see? So that's a product that's actually we import from India, Vietnam, and Mexico. So nobody cares too much about us being in competition with racetracks over who's going to buy our horseshoes or whatever, or race or people in the horse racing business. We're not too worried about that. We're worried about automobiles and stuff like that. And I didn't want to get into that because you hear that all the time on TV. You hear that left and right, and you all know what's going on there. So I wanted to make a point, and with the horseshoes, to show that this is something that would be cool because it doesn't compete with the products of the United States. And the only thing I'll add is that this is true, that President Trump said that he really isn't, he doesn't care if prices on cars go high, because the tariffs that he's putting on the foreign imports of cars, they're retaliating by putting on adding prices to their car to begin when they send it over here. So it's going to make it go zoom. So President Trump says, well, that would be good. I don't care about that. That's fine with me, because people just won't buy foreign cars. They'll buy American cars. And that's going to help the American auto industry. But the thing is that I just want to make this one comment. That's why I brought this up, is that there are a lot of American people here who fix German cars, who fix all these kind of Italian cars, who fix all these kind of cars, you see, and Japanese cars and everything like that, and they fix all these cars, and they make a living doing that and selling parts and all that business. And they sell a lot of American people in this country sell those cars. So you're putting a lot of people out of business, a lot of people out of work, Americans out of work who sell these foreign cars and parts. That's all I'm saying here. That's it for that. I didn't want to dwell into it, but that's the only point I'm going to make on that. So there it is. There you have it. You could read that for yourself here. This is just something I made up, and I thought it would be a good point to make in saying that. So there it is. Okay, and I'll just run this by. There was Senator John Kennedy. There he is. He's a little baffled there. You see his hands and everything. He's baffled. And there is Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. And there is President Donald Trump, which I gave him the horseshoe, and he's not he wouldn't be worried about horseshoes competing in the United States because we're not big on that, and that's not a big ticket item, you know. So there it is, and there it is. You can read that for yourself one more time. And there it was. Thank you for watching my video. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Take care, folks. Bye.